Hey, what's up guys, ImpulseEvan here, and today I'm presenting the video. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to the new FNAF game theory called FNAF, The Origins of Evil. Now, I'm not sure what this is going to be about. Obviously, it's going to be like the origins, about like, I'm guessing, William, and like, why he's evil or something like that. I'm guessing. But I don't know what he's going to say. So, I'm excited to watch this. I gotta preface this, as always, by saying that I like MatPat, even if I disagree with this theory. That doesn't... If I end up disagreeing with this theory, that doesn't mean I dislike him. And it's also just a theory, so I'm bound to disagree with at least something. If I disagree with it, don't get mad at me, because yeah, it's just a theory. So, let's watch this.
I've done it. I've solved FNAF, and the clue
Sure.
that brings it all together is this.
Don't you hate getting killed by obscure secondary characters?
What about him?
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where today I'm just gonna get straight to the point. This episode was supposed to be our final timeline.
Oh, that's not gonna happen ever.
There yet. I think we're gonna have it ready for next week. There's just a few wrinkles that we need to iron out about Elizabeth's death specifically, but otherwise, I feel really good about everything we've pieced together so far. That said, I wanted to put this episode up first regardless, because it dives into a section of the timeline that's likely gonna be controversial, which is also a bad thing because it's the beginning of the timeline.
Yeah,
like
the beginning of the timeline is...
foot, you know? So in order to...
The beginning of the timeline has a lot of... is like really crowded, so it's kind of hard to solve all of that. But let's see what he's gonna say.
That one off at the past. Let's just start talking about it now, shall we? Last episode, I brought up how the team and I have been tackling this whole timeline project. Basically, that we've broken down everything into 3 key sections: the foundation of Freddy's, the Afton era, and post-Purple Guy. In that episode, we dug hard into the last chunk, trying to figure out the recent history with things like FNAF VR and Security Breach. But even trickier is the first chunk, the foundation of Freddy's. You see, at this point, we all have a general basic knowledge of the games, right? Kids die, animatronics get possessed, all that good stuff. But here,
I thought you said they didn't.
Stuff right at the beginning, that's the murkiest, because honestly, there's not a lot that's immediately clear that we can go off of. Sure, there's a couple of lines from Phone Guy, maybe a
it is hard to piece that together.
Otherwise, it seems to be about it.
I think I have my own like decent idea of how it could happen, but it's not factual or anything.
Start killing in the first place. Was Fredbear's Family Diner truly the first location?
Yes.
Are questions that seem important for
or well, why he Orpal? No, I think Fredbear's was the first restaurant. I don't think it was the first Fazbear Entertainment thing ever. I think the first Fazbear Entertainment thing was like in Security Breach, the Fredbear Sing and Show thing. I think that was probably like earlier on in the timeline, before Fredbear's was a thing, and it was just like a play or something like that, kind of like a musical play. Maybe something like that. I don't think it was like an actual restaurant until Fredbear's, which I think was implied to be like 1982 or something. So that's what I think. But I think it was the first restaurant.
The only problem is that the answers just might not exist anywhere in the canon yet. Or so I initially thought, which brings us to today's episode. I suspect that there may be a way to answer some, if not all, of those questions using a mix of evidence from the games, the books, and real-life lore. In the process,
real-life lore?
A better understanding of William
the YouTuber, or
also outlining a rough sequence of events that'll ultimately help place locations and other things when I tackle the full timeline of the series next week. And all of it hinges on one thing: a set of obscure secondary characters named the mediocre melodies. Orville Elephant, Ned Bear, Pig Patch, Happy Frog, and of course, Mr. Hippo.
Sometimes a story is just a story. You try to read into every little thing and find meaning in everything anyone says, you'll just drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Hippo, I get it. That has been leveled at me more times than I can count. But I think in this case, we actually didn't read into you enough. You see, when the mediocres were first introduced to the Pizzeria Simulator, we, as the community, largely dismissed them. And why wouldn't we? This is a game where you're pulling animatronics out of a dumpster. Trash and the gang are literally made of garbage. Why would we think that some random barnyard-themed characters would be worth our attention when there was already so much established lore?
Are elephants barnyard animals?
Solved the lore, we moved on. Then Ultimate Custom Night released, and there they were again. It was strange to see him fill so many slots, but I don't know, there was also Trash in the Gang, and Music Man! Other random pulls from the character
Music
so
Man.
maybe it was just Scott trying to fill out the roster. But then something unexpected happened. While they were mostly treated as a joke, if you died to them every once in a while, they'd
The
give
one
voice
you
to the
should
most
not have
important
killed.
character and mystery from the game. The one you shouldn't have killed, Cassidy.
Or is it Cassidy? I believe it is, but it's not really. Yeah, anyway.
It was a huge revelation, and the lines that they spoke ultimately helped us to determine that Custom Night was William Afton's endless torment at the hands of the spirits inside the Golden Freddy suit. But again, none of
Wasn't
us
Jack
ever
with Chico what initially got you to think that?
Why were they
Or at
the
least
ones
she's
that
the
Cassidy
first.
was
Yeah,
choosing to
whatever.
speak
I don't
to?
care.
Why are they here? Well, after
For
doing
reasons.
a lot of research for the grand overall timeline, now I think I know. The mediocre melodies were Henry's creation from a time before he and William started working together. When the two men merged their ideas together to form one company, the mediocres became temporary characters.
I feel like he's gonna bring up the
Family
puppet carver,
Diner
probably.
before eventually being retired and largely forgotten. Oh yeah, that is a lot of big swings that I'm making with some massive assumptions. So let's just rewind and take it one step at a time, shall we? First, how do we know that the mediocre melodies belong to Henry? Well, let's just look at their design. It's very simple. They're similar to the Endo 01 designs from the FNAF 1 animatronics, but even more rudimentary, with less flexible joints and less complex wiring. But the important point here is that for each one, the upper jaw and the lower jaw are entirely separate, operating using a very basic hinge towards the back of the head, or two metal bars that slide up and down along the side. And you see,
Like the
that
FNAF 1
there is what
animatronics.
tells us they belong to Henry. Well, there are plenty of animatronics that fall into a nebulous zone of who designed them. There are a few pieces of tech that we can definitely trace back to their original creator. The Funtime animatronics, for instance, definitely came from Afton. Not only were they designed with the intent of luring and capturing children, something that just doesn't jive with Henry, but the blueprints outright.
Nah, Henry's a murderer for real.
Corner. Not much you can do to
Confirmed.
deny that one. Sound
Just
illusion
kidding,
discs,
obviously.
another Afton creation,
Yeah.
considering the backs of them are stamped with his company name, as we see in the graphic novels.
Well, they
The
were
one I'm
created
most
by
interested in
they were
today
created
is
by Henry,
Afton,
but okay.
an animatronic designed by Henry, used to capture his daughter the puppet during FNAF 6. That was clearly not an Afton project. This was purely Henry's doing in secret. So, knowing that, did you happen to notice the two straight metal rods in the schematics with the jaw fully detached from the top of the head? It's an exact match for the design of Happy Frog. It's a Henry signature. But why does that matter? Well, the designs of the mediocres also perfectly match up to the first generation of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. We know that the Wizards were the earliest form of our core 4 animatronics. These were the ones that had children stuffed inside of them and got possessed. They outright tell us this fact in Ultimate Custom Night.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But have you ever stopped to look at how the Wizards were constructed? They use the exact same techniques as the mediocre melodies. They have a full separation between the tops of their head and their jaws. Withered Freddy and Foxy both have the hinge opening in the back like we see with Pig Patch, and Withered Chica follows the Happy Frog and Lefty model with bars in the jaw to aid in opening and closing the mouth.
Okay, a while ago, I think it was like over a year ago now actually, I made a theory that that earlier versions of the mediocre melodies were present at the FNAF 1 location where there were another 5 kids killed. And I had that idea based on the fact that in Happiest Day, the balloons represent the spirits of the dead kids, and there's 16 balloons. So we have saved them, we have the missing kids, and Charlie, so who would be the other 5? So my idea was that there would be another 5 murders at the FNAF 1 location, and those kids would become the mediocre melodies. Like an earlier version of the mediocre melodies. I think that they ended up getting possessed by those kids, and then they were like scrapped or something like that. And the idea was basically that they would be recreated again, like a new version of them by Henry again in FNAF 6. So yeah, I agree that Henry created these. I don't agree with my old theory anymore. I don't think that the mediocre melodies were in FNAF 1. I think those extra 5 in Happiest Day were probably something else. I don't really know yet. I'm still yet to come up with an explanation for that, but I do agree that Henry created the mediocre melodies. I'm not sure where he's going to go with this, though.
Think this is just a coincidence? Look at Chica in other games. Chica in FNAF 1, a fundamentally different design. Funtime Chica, definitely not. Toy Chica, nope. The only other time we see this sort of fully separated head design for animatronics is with the FNAF 6 Rockstar animatronics. Ones that, again, we know were built by Henry as part of his plan to lure everyone back to his pizzeria trap. In short, the animatronic design seems to be giving us a timeline of events. The mediocres and Wizards were built by Henry early in the timeline of the games. Eventually, Afton starts to influence the designs more and more until Henry comes back to design the robots that were used for his pizzeria trap. But again, I ask, why does any of this matter? Isn't this just a minor detail? Me looking for connections where they don't really matter? No. Knowing that the Wizards and the Mediocre share a design seems like it might help explain another part of the lore, Happiest Day. In FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame,
Yeah, that was another reason I thought about that. I thought the mediocre melodies were possessed
purple hippo,
by those
orange
kids.
elephant, blue. Okay, not all of them match. But here's
Yeah.
the thing, I'm not the one pointing that detail out. This is actually coming from Scott Cawthon himself. In the Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Guide, the character description for each mediocre melody calls this out as something worth noting. Quote, it's unconfirmed, but a child in the FNAF 3 Happiest Day minigame appears to be wearing a Happy Frog mask, Orville mask, Mr. Hippo mask. Every single entry mentions this specific detail. Seems like an odd fan theory to call so much attention to. And remember, Happiest Day is an exact recreation of the FNAF 4 pizzeria. We enter at the stage where Crying Child's bitten, we pass 3 tables, there's a bit of a gap, and then the final birthday table for the cake that's gonna set Crying Child's soul free. It seems to suggest that at some point the mediocre melodies existed in one version of the restaurant right alongside Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. But how could all that be? Well, it's easier than you might think. In the story The Puppet Carver, we read about the
I knew he was going to bring this up.
a restaurant that seems to
Pizza
predate
Playroom.
or be a competitor to Freddy's. And in it, we see that the franchise uses very rudimentary animatronics that break down a lot. There's a pig with a banjo, an off-brand bear named Baron Von Bear, and an unknown bird animatronic. It's the mediocre melodies, guys. Pig Patch, Ned Bear, and hold on, there's no bird in the mediocre melodies. Unless, of course, we're talking about Chica. What this story seems to heavily suggest is that Chica started at a different pizza franchise and eventually crossed over into Freddy's, becoming popular enough to eventually join.
I don't really think so because Fred... Sorry. I think... I don't know, because Chica was at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza when it first was a thing. And Fredbear's Family Diner was the first location. I mean, FNAF AR Fast Facts actually confirmed that. So yeah, I don't really think that Chica started off as a mediocre melody and then became part of the Fazbear gang. I mean, it could be if maybe Fazbear Entertainment bought out another restaurant or something, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, why would they do that? So I don't really think so, but...
the core 4. Also working at that pizza playground is a talented creator named Porter, someone who seems to have the ability to make wood-based animatronics come to life. In short, it's the book's stand-in for Henry. Henry may not be the most technologically advanced creator out there, but whatever he creates contains this certain X factor about it, a spark of life. It's how he's able to create endoskeletons out of nothing but wood. No power, no nothing, just wood and a childlike imagination. This, I think, starts to give us an important piece in the puzzle. Afton was the business guy, a tech bro who was smart and could build machines able to mimic voices and transform and launch giant claws out of their stomachs for no apparent reason. But it was Henry who had the pure love of his craft, that intangible thing that just couldn't be replicated, and it drove Afton crazy.
The actual original animatronics were designed by Henry. Those endos aren't wood, so...
In the Silver Eyes novel, we read a bit about Afton's old journals, that they were, quote, full of raving paranoia. Passages about Henry that ranged from wild jealousy to near worship, which now gets us moving towards a motive. You see, one thing that I kept getting stuck on in the building of a timeline was the question of why. Why does Afton kill? And out of everyone, why does he kill Henry's daughter, Charlie, specifically?
Before he goes on to say... I think the best explanation and the most likely option is that maybe William's wife ended up dying or divorcing him or both. And William got jealous that Henry's family is so perfect and it's full. It has a mother, it has the father, it has the children. So William was like, you know what? If my family can't be perfect, then his can't be either. So then he kills Henry's daughter so that he can feel the pain that he does. I think that's why he killed Charlie. That's my idea of why he killed Charlie. Depending on what you believe, it could be that Elizabeth... Whoops, didn't mean to unpause. It could be that Elizabeth also died before Charlie, but then there's also the question of why William would have made a baby to kill, unless she wasn't originally made to kill, and then it was a malfunction, and then she actually was designed to kill later on, like that. Those perks were like added to her later on. It's really... That's like... it's like my biggest question is like, why would Elizabeth not appear in Midnight Motorist when most people believed already that Elizabeth was already dead, and by the time of FNAF 4, and FNAF 6 is a game of about tying up loose ends. So if Elizabeth was alive in FNAF 4, then I feel like she would have been in Midnight Motorist to clarify that she was alive. But then she's not in Midnight Motorist, so that's weird. So then that's like one of my only like issues. Like I'm currently making I'm going to be doing a video soon about when the missing children incident took place. So I'm going to be going over a bunch of other things like when Charlie or Elizabeth also died, which I've done a video similar to in the past, and another video similar to in the past as well. But like, I just want to go over that because I'm still kind of conflicted about where everything goes, but I think the main idea is that William was jealous that Henry's family is perfect because he lost his wife and maybe Elizabeth at the time. That Elizabeth dying at the time is still questionable to me. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I actually believe that or not. And like I said, I'll talk about that in a video, but yeah. All right, let's move on.
If not the first victim of the entire series. So why does Afton do it? Just because he's evil? Just because he's drunk from the bar at Junior's? No. I think Afton both loved and hated his business partner. He admired him and his magic, but also despised him for his success. This contradiction starts to point us to Afton's motive for murder. It also finally helps.
I don't think he murdered his daughter because he was jealous of his success. Oh god, Chuck E. Cheese.
Should have been looking for lore this entire time. The history of the Chuck E. Cheese franchise. Because in a game all about animatronic pizza restaurants, why would we not look to see what creative inspiration Scott might have gotten from the real-life franchise that started it all? I am so dumb. It took me researching an episode over on food theory to finally realize that I should have at least considered this at some point during the last 7 years of solving FNAF.
You did it once.
Anyway,
the first time.
Exactly that, and what I learned was enlightening, to say the least.
I don't know, man.
Know of as Chuck E. Cheese actually started as the product of a feud between two rival animatronic pizza restaurants, Pizza Time Theater and Showbiz Pizza Place.
Yeah.
Pizza Time was founded by a smart businessman who wanted to recreate Disneyland's Country Bear Jamboree. In the end, their onstage show wound up soulless and had no solid theme. Showbiz Pizza, meanwhile, had a creator who built better robotic attractions that were full of life. They also had a solid theme where everyone had southern accents and a lot of charm. I mean, just watch the clips and the difference is immediate.
Ned Bear.
Like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, you get it?
See, we're all up here on the stage, and we can all turn, go around a big circle together. See, like this, our feet aren't screwed to the floor or bolted down. We can move. We got more moves than a can of worm. And then that old 1-2 Bob can come up there and stick his old ugly mug in your face.
To me, the battle between these real-life pizza places, these two men, sounds a lot like the battle between William and Henry, a smart businessman who wanted to riff off Disney's Bear Show versus a talented artist that was building animatronics with actual life and good southern accents.
I was just waiting for you to drop your guard.
Even small details of the real-life story map nicely onto the games, like the fact that these pizza places had small cabaret stages off to the side for extra acts to get added later, just like how Foxy stands alone in Pirate Cove. A separate act that we see was the last one added to the core group of 4. In real life, Pizza Time Theater, the one I most associate with William Afton, went heavily into debt and was forced to merge with Showbiz Pizza. That meant that, at least for a while, all the animatronics existed under one roof. But because the characters from Pizza Time were stronger for branding, specifically Chuck E. Cheese, that's the ones that they ultimately moved forward with. I suspect that something similar happened in the games. William's bear-themed restaurant went heavily in debt. He gets saved by his rival Henry, and the two merge their restaurants together to create Fazbear Entertainment. Chica, a mediocre melody, officially joins Fredbear's cast of friends, and the rest are slowly phased out to obscurity. And William, angry and bitter, never truly lives down the humiliation of his failure, prompting him to lash out in a drunken rage against Charlie one night behind the pizzeria. This feels...
Okay. Lots to unpack there. I'm not going to. I will say, I think that's a possibility. I just feel like looking to Chuck E. Cheese history is a little bit weird. I mean, yeah, FNAF is kind of inspired by Chuck E. Cheese in some regards, but I don't really think that that's how Fazbear Entertainment would have been created. I feel like they would have already been business partners. Because I feel like we would have heard of that in the novels, that they were rivals and they merged. It is possible, though. I just don't really think that's the most logical explanation, but I don't know. Maybe.
Right to me to set up William as
I do think the thing about Chica moving over is a kind of cool idea. I'm not really sure about that, though.
than just an evil purple guy. This flow of events actually gives him a reason to want to kill, a motive. It also aligns with a lot of
I don't think success. I don't think success and Henry literally saving his company, saving him from going into debt. I don't think that would make William want to get revenge on Henry. Does it really make sense that William would be like, my company's failing, this dude's doing better, and then that dude Henry is like, hey, come join me, you don't have to be in debt. He's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna kill your daughter now because you're more successful than me. That doesn't make any sense.
J-Top, creative director at Steel Wool, recently acknowledged how important it is for your horror villain to be an actual, fully fleshed out, tragic character.
Try not to set out to make a cool-looking villain. You know, go make a monster that have a reason for it. Look at, like, anthology horror. Here's somebody doing something really, really bad. Like, they murdered someone. Something happens, often ironically, that then comes back to bite them. A creature is created, a situation is created, and then they're judged and they get their just desserts. Every big, horror icon, it essentially fits that structure in a way. Why is Freddy Krueger popular?
Shut up,
It's
Fortnite.
a revenge story, isn't it? Miss Voorhees, it's a revenge
Sorry,
story.
I have
These aren't
Fortnite
just,
open in the background.
Forces that came out of nowhere to just hurt people, punish people. There were results of other wrongdoing.
William Afton, if I'm right, follows this exact pattern. His jealousy over Henry's skill causes him to lash out, which in turn dominoes to him building the very robots that'll eventually take Elizabeth and his crying child son away from him. The other thing that this mediocre melody timing issue may help explain is Cassidy's death. In the Fazbear Frights books, there's Andrew, who's basically the book stand-in for Cassidy. I know we're always supposed to take things in the books with a grain of salt, but Andrew here is an angry spirit that keeps William's soul tethered to a hellish purgatory so it can be punished again and again and again. He's also known to have had his body stuffed inside of Golden Freddy, so really the connections between the two aren't subtle. But Andrew has two unusual details about him. First, he wears an
Unless you're to say that Andrew is in the game's timeline, then they're two separate people, and Cassidy isn't the vengeful one, which I disagree with that, but I mean, it's not impossible. I just disagree.
Mask. Second, and even more strangely, it's repeatedly made clear that his soul is attached not to an animatronic or an endoskeleton or anything like that, but to a battery pack, of all things. Now that is unusual. He's stuffed into
That's
Golden
not what the
Freddy,
battery
and
pack
his
looks like.
soul is in a battery pack. Where in this franchise do we see animatronics using battery packs, let alone off-branded?
Wait.
Is unusual or anything. He's stuffed into Golden Freddy, but his soul is in a battery pack.
Okay, buddy. Let me just explain something. Okay, so Andrew was in Golden Freddy. However, he attaches to William. And when he attaches to William, he basically... he's in his soul. And then when William blows up... Andrew's spirit goes into the shelves of the Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center, where he finds his way, where he accidentally infects a bunch of objects and finds his spirits, and then his spirit finds its way into the Fetch animatronic. He possesses the Fetch battery pack. That's what's going on. He wasn't just stuffed into Golden Freddy and then was just like, I'm gonna go possess a battery pack now. No, that's not what happened. He most likely was in Golden Freddy, his spirit was most likely in Golden Freddy, but he went over to William, he blew up, and then Andrew went into Fetch, and then that's how, so.
Where in this franchise do we see animatronics?
He kind of just misunderstood that, I guess.
Branded animals using battery.
Also, the battery pack was red.
Could they possibly have been around during the missing children's incident? Yes. Given what we already talked about with the Generation 1 Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica matching the designs of the mediocre melodies, it's certainly possible. We also see that the Golden Freddy suit has the same Henry style of design. In both the Fazbear Frights illustrations, as well as FNAF 4's minigames, we see that Golden Freddy has the separated jaw controlled by two straight bars, just like Lefty and just like Happy Frog. And last but certainly not least, we come all the way back around to the point that I started this whole episode episode with. Cassidy speaks through them, of all characters. Not through Golden Freddy, not through Fredbear, through the mediocre melodies. The animatronics with a battery pack. Just thought it was an interesting series of connections. So anyway, those were some stray observations that I've been kicking around about the mediocres. What do you think? Do they have greater lore importance to the story than we initially thought, or are they just meant to be a joke? Am I just falling victim to everything that Mr. Hippo warned me against? Let me know down in the comments below now, because this is your last chance for them to affect the final FNAF timeline for 2022. Our interpretation of all the events in the series up to now. That episode will be coming in the next week or two. I swear, I am not putting it off anymore. We're gonna plow through this thing to the very end. We have gotta finish it. Gotta finish it, man. We've gotta finish it. Let's just do it. So make sure you subscribe to know when that one is uploaded, and in the meantime,
I will, of course, do a
remember,
reaction to
stay
that.
hydrated. I appreciate that today's theory might be a lot to swallow. Fortunately, you can wash it down with help from today's sponsor, Era. In the FNAF world,
I don't really care. Smell is usually a bad thing.
as always, my friends, remember, it's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
I love how he made this video completely contradicting the video that he like advertised at the end of this one. No, but I think this theory was decent. I understand completely where he's coming from. I don't agree, but I don't think it's a bad theory. I understand where the idea comes from. It's not just like it's not a completely like I can't think of the word. It's not that I can't see where he's coming from. I very much can. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you later. Bye, guys.